What's an injury you sustained, and lied about how it actually happened, because it was too embarrassing. I got surgery a few years ago on my knees as I had dislodged some loose cartilage in the joint and also torn a bit of my meniscus. At the time I was playing a ton of ultimate frisbee, so I just told people it was that. It actually happened when I was getting up from a chair. Got drunk, fell on my face on pavement. Said the huge gash on my forehead down to my cheek was from rugby. To be fair, it was during a rugby social. I once fell out of bed and cracked my head open on a metal frame. Blood everywhere. ER visit. Stitches etc. I was about 6 years old. I still have the scar decades later. My mother literally changed our beds even though we really couldn't afford it to safer ones. The truth is, I didn't want to go to bed. So I flung myself out of bed to pretend to be hurt and maybe get to stay up for a short while longer. I was removing facial hair using a remover cream. I ended up leaving it on for too long, which caused burns. I told people I dropped hot noodles on my face. I was at-faced and fell in the parking lot of my friend's apartment and busted my face wide open at her birthday party. The birthday party just so happened to be the night before a second date with this really cute girl I met on Tinder. Went on the date and told the girl that a dog at work had knocked me over and I fell on my face. I work with dogs and me being put on my ass by a Great Dane or some other huge pup isn't unusual, and she understood. While on the date some guys came up to me and rudely asked me WTF happened to my face. My Tinder date grabbed my hand and made up some story about how I got in a fight defending her honor in a bar or some nonsense. I could hardly keep a straight face while she was telling the story, but she sold the it out of it. It wasn't until a few days later I told her the real story of how I got hurt. Tinder date and I are getting married soon. I was once buttering toast with my face really close to it. I like my butter to be spread precisely. Then I sneezed and slammed my head on the counter, effectively knocking myself out, and had to go to the ER to be treated for a concussion. I once punched a bowling ball because I was frustrated. It turns out bowling balls are pretty hard. Broke my hand. It was swollen and bloody. Told my boss at work I slammed my hand in a door. It's still broken. This was like 6 months ago. I haven't exactly lied about it, but depending on who I'm talking to, I have been leaving out some important details. I got my wife an electric scooter for her birthday. The day she got it, we went out for a ride. I was on my electric skateboard. It had recently rained a bit, so the pavement was a little wet, but not too bad as long as you were careful. I got the idea to pretend to fart and get a speed boost from it, so I made a farting sound and totally gunned it. Since the pavement was damp, my board slid out from under me and I went down directly in front of my wife. She didn't have time to stop, so she also fell. We both got some scrapes and bruises. Unfortunately, she got it worse than I did. When telling the story, I've left out the fart boost part of it. Someone I'm not really close to. Edit. Hey, thanks for the silver. Fully took off my nail while playing football. I said, was playing sport. Just an intense game of sword fighting on Wii Sport Resort and slammed my hand really hard on a table. I cut my thumb with an axe. The cut was almost to the bone. I never told anyone because I was told not to play with the axe. This is when I was 6 years old. When I was younger we dismantled one of those plastic football goals and reassembled it into a giant golf club. I was then swiftly hit in the face, causing my cheek to rip open. I had to tell my dad that someone kicked the football too hard into my face because I didn't want to admit that I was beaten by a homemade plastic rod. Edit. Picture of the scar for those asking. I got a black eye as a kid. I slipped and fell into the support beam of my basketball rim. My dad made me lie to my other family members and say I got it defending some kids at school. He was pretty embarrassed at how terrible I was at basketball. Lol. Was out of works for months with this one. Broke my finger and severed the tendon catching a heavy door to hold for a cute girl. I dislocated my kneecap while masturbating. Lied and said I was falling off my bed when I woke up from a dream. I broke my D once. Look, I was tired. Practically asleep. I was about to jump on my bed to sleep. I missed somehow. Landed on the floor with a chub. Hurt like my third duck. I just said I got mugged and hit with a bat. Edit. RIP inbox. I once semi-dislocated my kneecap in such a way that my leg locked up and I was in incredible pain. By sitting down to eat at the dinner table and twisting my leg somehow, I hurt myself sitting down. Instead I told my friends I had fallen down a steep hill on the local heathland. But my brother told them the truth and I was promptly mocked. I have these really ugly shoes that I wear around the house that my husband absolutely hates. I was taking laundry down the stairs and I fell down the stairs because of the shoes. I couldn't tell him that because then he will be correct that my shoes are stupid. So I told him that the dog ran between my legs and made me fall. My grandmother noticed a mark on my forehead. It was round and just under an inch in diameter. She asked me what happened. Without missing a beat I straight up replied with, "I burnt my head with my hair straightener." She grumbled that I should be more careful. What really happened, you ask? I got my head stuck between the back seat and back armrest of a car, resulting in a friction burn, similar to carpet burn. While rooting, getting laid, banged, having sexual relations in the back seat. Edit. Clarification. Was getting hot and heavy with my boyfriend at the time. He reached under my shirt and unhooked my bra and then pulled my shirt and bra up over my head at the same time. As he did this, the underwire in my cheap ass bra popped out and left a huge scratch right across my forehead. I made up some story about digging through my closet looking for something and getting scratched by a hanger. I have scars on my knees that I tell everyone I got from a bad fall. It's plausible. I am very clumsy. In reality, I was having sex with a guy the floor of his bedroom and got rug burn on my knees from when I was on top. A scar across my forehead. I got it from hitting my head on a fan as a child, and it's still kind of there. I always just say that my cat scratched me and it went pretty deep. Therefore the reason it's still there. Not me, but once had a friend lie about how they broke their wrist. He was only about 16 at the time but told everyone he broke his wrist by falling down the stairs. Turns out his mum walked in on him. NSFW, so spoiler. More than fingering a girl less than, and he jerked his arm away in an awkward position causing the break. Friend of mine broke his D while rolling over with morning wood off the bed. He got his super hot GF at the time to say it happened during sex. This was not the kind you could hide. He was laid up, legs spread open, for a month and another 2 before he could walk again. It was 6 months before he was back to normal. His wife, same girl, just married him, later told us the truth during a Christmas drinking game. I broke my wrist in gym class playing kickball when I was 16 or 17. The grass was wet. The girl on first base was a big and lazy girl and I was in the shortstop position, so when I saw a kick go straight along the baseline I knew what to expect. Girl didn't even bend down to try and stop it, just kinda waved one arm at her side. So I was running to try and get to it. Stopped it with one arm, but the grass was super wet and my feet just kept going. I fell down hard and had my left arm behind me to brace the fall. The only cool part of the story is that I finished out the rest of the game with what should have been a very obviously broken wrist. I went to the gym teacher afterwards and asked if I could go to the nurses for an ice pack before getting changed. He was just like, that's broken. He flagged a kid to escort me to the nurses, and after a bit of walking and going up the stairs and the adrenaline wearing off, I went into shock and fainted. I told everyone in my first few years of college that it happened playing high school soccer instead of gym class kickball. I didn't play soccer in high school. Finally, a story I can share. I was playing soccer, with a bunch of friends. I was 12. Since we were all still school kids, one team was usually gonna steamroll the other. On this occasion, I happened to be the keeper on the winning team, so I had nothing to do and I was really bored. I decided it was a good time to do some pull-ups, and so I grabbed the crossbar of the goalpost and pulled myself up. Once I was on top, I stuck out my legs for fun and got them stuck in the net. I ended up falling to the ground, and I stuck out my hands to prevent myself from breaking my tailbone. I eventually found out that I'd broken my left wrist, with one of the bones inside the wrist being pushed out of position and slightly fractured. What I told my parents, and the doctor too, lol, was that I was running after the ball and tripped over something. thus causing me to fall face first and break my wrist. TLDR. Broke wrist doing a pull-up on a goalpost. Told parents and doctor that I tripped while running after a football. TLDR. Ex-BF left a handprint bruise on my face. Told my parents and other friends and family that I hit it on the steering wheel. An ex-boyfriend and I were once getting kinky and he was repeatedly slapping me in the face while choking me. Granted, it was a little harder than I prefer. He was also coked out, and in my experience, people don't always realize how aggressive they're being while on coke, but it wasn't unbearable or anything. He suddenly stopped a few minutes later, eyes wide in awe. "Did I do that?" he asked. "Do what? Your face is all bruised." "It's fine. I'll look at it later," I said dismissively. Later comes around and I look in the mirror to see a purple handprint outlined across my cheeks. Even the lines of his hands were painted on my face in broken blood vessels. My parents didn't know I was dating him, and they certainly didn't think I was having sex, especially like that. On my way home I stopped at Ulta and got color correcting makeup, piled it on using the mirror in my car, and wore my hair down and slightly over my face. My parents could still see some bruising though, and when they asked what happened, I told them this absolute whopper. I was driving home from work and dropped my water bottle. It started to roll as if it was gonna get in the way of the brake pedal, so I bent down to grab it. While I was still kind of bent down, a cat ran into the road and when I slammed on the brakes I hit my face on the wheel. I've been waiting 25 years for this moment. As a 10-year-old boy, my friend had a mini hoop on his closet door in his room. We would always shoot the ball while playing Super Nintendo or whatever. One day we started shooting and then had a real one-on-one game, with dribbling, scorekeeping, etc. I went for a dunk and didn't realize the closet doorknob was missing and it was just jagged metal jutting out of the door. I remember looking down and seeing my shorts torn open and a bloody gash, and I was in shock. The cut was inches from my man parts. This was a close one. It wasn't bleeding a ton and I could see fat and other strange it. It was a couple inches long and I was a ducking idiot 10 years old, so I got a bunch of bandages from his house and limped home. Neosporin and bandages for weeks until it healed. Never told my parents. Not sure why. I have a visible scar to this day. Threw out my back sneezing. Told people I was moving something heavy because that was less stupid than the truth. Jumped off a 12-foot recreational climbing wall drunkenly to impress a boy and broke both of my legs, putting me in a wheelchair for the rest of the summer equals I had a rock climbing accident. I got super pissed and in my stupidity I punched a wall and broke my hand along with snapping all the tendons in the pinky side of my hand. To avoid disappointed stares and judging looks I just said I dropped some furniture on it. I broke my toe running from a bee. I'm a huge weenie about stingy bugs, so when a bee got in my hair I freaked out. I ran toward the house, lost my balance, kicked the concrete step of mom's porch and fell backwards. Mom was sitting on the porch and I accidentally backhanded her before crashing to the ground. She was laughing so hard she couldn't help me up, and I was laughing so hard I couldn't get up. I was super embarrassed for a while and just told everyone I tripped. I got over the shame because it was pretty ducking funny, so I don't lie about it anymore. I got a second-degree burn on my butt cheeks. My friend stupidly let it slip during a dinner with my mom. I had to quickly lie and say I was taking a bath and didn't check the water because every human gets in the bathtub butt first. I really got the injury from pouring oatmeal which hadn't cooled down into the back of a diaper I was wearing. In high school I was just messing around with some friends in the parking lot after school and I had jumped off the back end of my friend's car while it was in motion and landed on my foot really goofy. I either broke a bone in my foot or badly sprained it because I couldn't walk on it. I didn't want my mom to get mad at me for being an idiot, so I wrapped it up every day for a few months to keep it straight and not hurting. The pain eventually went away, but it was a rough few months that I had to fake not having a limp. She never really questioned while I was wearing pants every day for the early summer months. So whatever. Edit. I guess I never really lied about what happened. Just never came forward about it. My trifluoroacetic acid scar that is about 6 inches x 4 inches on my left forearm isn't a lab accident. As I tell people, I used the acid to cover my self-harm scars, which were prolific and noticeable. I got the idea from the hot iron scene in the movie Rush, when Jason Patrick burns off his needle marks. This scar is still incredibly obvious, but is easily explained away. I have never admitted that to anyone. I did it in 1995. I once gave myself a black eye trying to move one of those heavy boxes containers of cat litter. I leaned over to pick it up and unbeknownst to me it was actually empty instead of the full 30-35 lbs I was expecting. Brought it up fast and the corner of the container clocked me in the eye. Thankfully my school and friends know I'm fairly clumsy as it is, so they didn't really bat an eye at it once I assured them it was just my clumsiness. A fun tidbit. I've lived in the same house since I was born and have fallen down the same stairs. I literally learned how to stairs on over 25 times in my life. I'm 18, almost 19 now. Whenever I have a particularly ugly pimple, I stick a band-aid on it, tell people I hurt myself in my workshop. I was in high school taking my morning shower. It was an older house and the shower was a tiled-in room with a glass door. Being the high school dork that I was, I thought it would be cool if I ninja elbowed the door open. The whole door spider webbed and one little piece popped out, leaving me with a nice gash on my elbow. I hand slipped. The funny part was that about a week prior, my brother sliced his hand open in the same shower trying to open a bottle of shampoo with a pocket knife. Neither of us are too bright. Around 5 months ago I was playing soccer with people 4 grades above me. I was a goalkeeper. I generally don't play in this position. They kick the ball. It hits the upper bar, falls on my hand and bang. Next day I have a cast and 2 fractured bones in my wrist area. What's funny is I told my mom I didn't know who did it, but of course she knew I was lying. I feel it was worth it because the ball didn't go in. So I was going to the bathroom and I was reading comic books. I was on the toilet for so long that my legs happened to fall asleep. As I was getting up I fell over with no use of my legs and broke my wrist. Told everyone I got in a fist fight. Edit. I'm Greg Heffley. I lied to co-workers, no reason to lie to family. My injury was one night a group of friends were walking home from the bars early in the morning. I ran ahead for some reason and then I needed to pee. I went into an alley between 2 houses and it was pitch black. I pee, but on my way back to the street I trip on a trash can lid. I ended up spraining my ankle so bad that a bone in my foot broke. Apparently this is supposed to happen. I had to limp home. To make matters worse I was new to this job and had to take the train. I had to walk to and from the train station going up and down a ton of steps. Tough couple of weeks. Told them I hurt my foot playing sports. Caught my ex with his hand sliced open. Told me he was handling knives. Turned out it was a partial truth, except his hand slipped since he was trying to sneak a chunk of my cookie dough I had frozen without me finding out.